Did somebody order a large ham for Thanksgiving?
Let's talk about Monster Hunter. Let me get one thing out of the way right now. This is not for everyone. It takes a while to learn all the ins and outs, the combat isn't exactly up to Zelda standards, and most importantly, it requires a lot of time and patience to get the most out of it. If that kind of stuff isn't your thing, a more cynical video maker might tell you to piss off, but cynicism isn't my thing. So, who's still with me? Okay then. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is on the way, but before it comes out, I figure I'd cover the most important thing about the series. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, the update to the game that got me into the series, has some wicked cool monsters to fight, and I'm gonna list off the ones that kick the most ass. Whether they look cool, have awesome fights, or just have that certain badass factor, these are the monsters I always look forward to bringing down. Keep in mind, while many of these monsters have subspecies, I'll only be focusing on the main species. So stock your item pouch, grab your weapons, and suit up! It's game time! Starting off the list, we have two of the most iconic monsters in the series. And yes, I say two, because the Rathian and the Rathalos are so closely related that it only makes sense to talk about both of them. These two beasts make the perfect couple. At least when it comes to big fucking dragons who breathe fire! Of the monsters in the series, these husband and wife wyverns are some of the only boss monsters in the series to have predetermined genders. The green Rathian is the female and sticks mainly to the ground, while the red Rathalos is the male and patrols the skies. Equal opportunity dragon slaying, folks. We don't leave widows or widowers here. These two have been series mainstays. You can always expect them to show up in a Monster Hunter game. I'm dead serious. These dragons have been in every single fucking Monster Hunter game, and for good reason. They're challenging, they're powerful, and they cause two different status ailments that cause damage over time. They both have fireballs that cause fire blight, which is a fancy way of saying burn to the ground! That's easy enough to get rid of. All you need to do is recall your childhood training. The poison from their tails and claws, on the other hand, will require an antidote or poison-resistant armor. The Rathian and the Rathalos are both iconic monsters. They've posed a challenge for many hunters that have come before, and will continue to do so for many hunters who will come after. But Palutena help you if you run into them during mating season. I've heard of monsters being in heat, but fucking this? I remember one of my earliest high-rank quests back in Tri. I was taking on a powered-up version of a monster I fought before. Yeah, does more damage, takes longer to kill, but shouldn't be much of a problem. And then this thing showed up out of nowhere, and I nearly pissed myself. The mere mention of the Devil Joe's name causes lesser hunters to experience excessive levels of nope! During certain high-end G-rank quests after a certain point, this monstrosity can show up without warning, and when he does, his terror-inducing theme starts to play, and the first thought that pops into your head is RUN! It's Godzilla! From that point on, your one simple mission becomes a lot more complicated. Because not only do you have to worry about hunting your target, but unless you've got some seriously solid armor and weapons, you'll want to avoid this thing like the fucking plague. If it can eat other species to extinction, just imagine what it can do to you. Yeah, there's a reason I made that Godzilla reference, folks. The Devil Joe may as well be Monster Hunter's answer to Godzilla, right down to the atomic breath. That attack is one of the few attacks known to cause Dragon Blight. In Tri, this ailment lowers your affinity or your critical hit rate. Dangerous enough as it is, but it's even worse in Ultimate, since it takes away the elemental property from your weapon. And not only does the Devil Joe have the breath, but it also has powerful jaws, insane physical attacks including a massive tail, and can throw rocks that do a shit ton of damage. Not to mention the other status ailments it can inflict. Hell, his stomping can stagger you simply by being near it. But as much of a killjoy as this thing can be, it's so satisfying when you're strong enough to take down this motherfucker. Yeah, this is for getting between me and the Royal Ludroth, and this is for jumping me during the fight with the Bolvidian. Who's the killjoy now, bitch? Welcome to the tundra, where you can see your breath, making snow angels will make you liable to get eaten, and if you're not careful, the Barioth will leave you colder than Green Bay in January. If you follow my channel closely, you may have heard me talk about this monster before during my cryokinetics list last year. I had good reason to talk about it then, and well, I'm bringing him up again. So why exactly is the Barioth feared in this Empire of Ice and Snow? First of all, its design is seriously intimidating. Think what you'd get if you crossed an ice dragon with a freaking saber-toothed tiger! Normal people would run from that. For those of you that don't, you'll have to deal with punishing physical attacks such as lunges, tackles, and bites, not to mention that it can also attack from the air with its powerful wings. Combine that with its inherent speed, and you've got a threat that can keep you on your toes, assuming those toes don't fall off from frostbite. You ask what I'm talking about? Like the previous two entries, the Barioth can cause multiple status ailments. The first limits your mobility and item use by covering you with snow faster than you can say, "Do you want to build a snowman?" The other is Ice Blight, which causes you to use up stamina more quickly, meaning you'll have trouble keeping up with this thing, or getting away from it when it attacks. Also, did I mention that the Barioth can inflict both of these ailments at once? Of course you can avoid this by watching for its tail and its Ice Tornado! Aside from its design, what makes the Barioth a good monster is that it's a good challenge due to how it uses the environment to its advantage. Its mobility on the ice and in the air means that you'll have to stay sharp, otherwise you'll find yourself saying,
"I was frozen today!"
Forwards. Electric Super Saiyan Wolf. But that's only the beginning of what makes the Zinogre so freaking awesome. To put it simply, this thing gives new meaning to the term Lightning Bruiser. Zinogre was introduced as the flagship monster in Portable 3rd, which never got localized, and I wouldn't have been able to play anyway since I don't own a PSP. But I'm getting off track. For one thing, Zinogre's a wolf, and wolves are cool. Really, really cool. Second, this beast is quite the challenge. In spite of its size, Zinogre is one of the game's faster monsters, and it uses this speed to its advantage, which is another way of saying it really knows how to throw its weight around. You're gonna need to be quick to keep up and to avoid its attacks, which not only feature its powerful claws, but also include a lightning ball attack. Of course, this gets even more intense when Zinogre goes Super Saiyan and its power level increases to...
Overnight!
Shut up, Vegeta, that meme died out ages ago.
Not only do all its attacks get buffed, but they can also cause Thunder Blight, which makes you more susceptible to getting stunned. And in a fight against a monster that's this fast and this powerful, that's the last thing you want to happen. Oh, and did I mention it can call down lightning in this form? Yeah, this is a tricky fight, but it's so satisfying to take this thing down. By the way, the Zinogre goes Super Saiyan from gathering special Thunderbugs, and you can interrupt the charge if you attack it enough. Not only that, but if you can knock it down while it's charged, you can actually catch the bugs from its mane. And if you catch enough, it'll take its charge away. Hey, if you can defeat a Lord of Darkness with a fishing rod, depowering a beast with a bug net doesn't seem that far-fetched.
You'd be surprised what ordinary gathering tools can do. Remember the site?
Monsters come in all shapes, sizes, and species, but none are more powerful and more feared than the Elder Dragons. Often described as deities by the inhabitants of the Monster Hunter world, they're rare, powerful, known to cause natural disasters, and are usually big enough that they get areas exclusive to them. Oh yeah, we're talking final boss material here. And wouldn't you know it, the final boss of Ultimate's online mode is an Elder Dragon that's pretty much a walking volcano. The Dire Moralis is so powerful, the very seas around it become tainted, and different legends claim it to be the bearer of Armageddon or the creator of the world. Either way, you're in for a fierce battle. Especially since it starts the fight by raining down fireballs on your head! From there, you're dealing with a Titan that's as powerful and deadly on land as it is in the water. Like any other monster in the game, Dire Moralis has serious physical strength, especially its charge attack and its humongous tail. Aside from that are its incredible fire moves, ranging from various fireballs to freaking meteors! Oh, and you can't run back to base camp if you need to heal. However, evening the odds somewhat, you have ballistas and the spring-loaded wrecking machine known as the Dragon! Also, the reason that the Moralis is the lowest Elder Dragon on this list is because of the huge bullseye points covering its body. Of course, reliably attacking them is easier said than done, and the rest of its body becomes armored once it hits half health. Adding to the dramatic atmosphere of this fight is the fact that the lighthouse of Port Tanzia can be seen in the background. This imagery underscores the menace that Dire Moralis presents, and basically tells you that this thing needs to die! And once it does, you know you've really grown your beard. And then your hunter rank skyrockets from all your previous hunts. Woohoo! If you're looking for pure challenge, the Alatreon is pretty much as tough as it gets. It may not be as large as other Elder Dragons, but its power levels are off the charts, and many hunters consider it the hardest monster in the game. Being the final monster you can face in Ultimate's village quests, you're gonna need to be crazy prepared to even have a chance against this thing. This is because the Alatreon has a crap ton of powerful attacks that you'll need to be aware of. Not only can this bruiser inflict grievous harm with its body, but it's also elementally unstable. Many monsters in the game can inflict one of the elemental blights and put you in a difficult situation. The Alatreon, on the other hand, can inflict 4 of them! Fire Blight, Ice Blight, Thunder Blight, and possibly the worst, Dragon Blight. Not only that, but its weakness actually changes depending on whether it's on the ground or in the air. If you don't have a plan, you're gonna get wrecked harder than the bears when they come to Lambo. That's because it can call down lightning, hailstorms, fire tornadoes. Yeah, this guy is Armageddon on legs. Oh, and like the Dire Morales, you can't just run back to base camp to heal up. In Tri, this was the final online monster you could face, and holy shit does it live up to its billing! So much so that in Ultimate, Capcom decided to tip the scales ever so slightly by offering you ballistas to pelt him with, as well as a tie-down shot called the Ballista Binder to drag him down from the air. That doesn't change the fact that Alatreon is one hell of a fearsome beast. If you want to take this guy down, you'd better have top-notch equipment, a fully stocked arsenal, and if you're facing it online, one awesome hunting team. You see this sword? Yeah, that's my badge of honor.
Yep, I had to be that guy.
But you gotta admit, it's pretty hilarious when it gets stuck in the cliff. As I've said before, I've got a thing for poster characters. Kyo, Heart, Soul, fucking Ragna, so the cover monster of Ultimate would have to leave a big impression. We Americans get the Azure Rathalos, a powerful subspecies of half of number 10, whose remains can be built to make my go-to armor. So, which monster graces the cover of the Japanese version?
Let me repeat myself. Why does Japan get all the cool stuff?
Yeah, the Sidious is freaking awesome, and it deserves its place on the Japanese cover. Being a brute wyvern native to the volcano area, Sidious literally has the most explosive temper of any monster seen thus far, well befitting its downright intimidating design. But what really sets this thing apart from the rest of the crowd is how it fights. Its arms and horn are coated in a special form of slime. It even replenishes the slime in its arms by licking them. Yeah, this thing has no sense of hygiene. When applied to another surface, said slime will eventually harden and explode. If this beast hits you with Slime Blight, you're either gonna have to dodge roll like hell, or use deodorant before you go boom boom. Sidious is the first monster in the series to inflict this ailment, so bonus points for originality there. Of course, its attacks become all the more dangerous when it goes into Rage Mode. For the record, most boss monsters have a Rage Mode where they become more aggressive and powerful and gain a couple new attacks. With Sidious, you'll know right away when it's in Rage Mode when its slime turns yellow. When it's in Rage Mode, the explosions happen faster, sometimes immediately, and are even more potent. This beast is a fun challenge, but if you're not careful, a shower will be the least of your worries. But it's so worth it when you can get weapons with slime power. Slime is one of the most powerful elements in the game. In fact, some people call it broken.
Okay, I think I see where they're coming from. But who cares?
When the hunter, that's you, arrives in Moga Village at the outset of the game, you learn that the place has been beset by earthquakes, and of course a powerful monster is to blame. As you slay monsters and become better and build stronger stuff, you take down the supposed culprit, only to discover you've been barking up the wrong tree. The real culprit is still out there. And guess what? It's another fucking Elder Dragon! Just one look at the Sidious and you can tell that this behemoth puts Moby Dick to shame. That gigantic tail, those massive horns, that majestic beard. Oh man, that beard! More importantly though, this is an ideal test of your mastery of the underwater combat introduced in Tri. You can't even attempt this quest unless you bring a specific mask that turns Cha-Cha into a walking, swimming air supply. Sidious is so massive, its ordinary movements can damage you. As you chase it down the underwater tunnel, you'll need to attack its beard while it swims along and occasionally attacks you. Eventually you chase it into the heart of the ruins, and the real fight begins. As the amazing tribal music starts to play, Sidious kicks it into high gear and is out to slaughter your sorry ass. Not only are its physical attacks insanely punishing, but it has a water cannon that paints Metal Gear Ray green with envy. In return, you have access to underwater ballistas, which you can use to break its horn, a must if you want to drive it off, and the Dragon, which you might be able to use twice during the quest. With only 35 minutes as opposed to the usual 50, you might run out of time the first time you fight it. Thankfully, it's not as big of an issue as you might think, because even if you attempt the quest again, the Sidious won't heal. It'll keep all the damage it took, meaning that you'll be able to drive it away and return home a hero. It's just total satisfaction. And then you can fight it whenever you want, so that you can build that sweet gear from its remains. Did I mention this boss fight also makes Cha-Cha useful? Like I've said before, I couldn't get into Shadow of the Colossus. But that doesn't mean I can't appreciate being able to climb on top of a living mountain. I mean, take a look at this! You say you're gonna need a bigger boat, I say you're gonna need a bigger everything. The Gen Moran is by far the biggest monster of the 3rd generation, and one of the biggest in the series, clocking in at over 110 meters long. It even has minerals on its back from which you can actually mine rare materials. For this reason, this behemoth has long been considered a symbol of prosperity. Believe me when I say that this prosperity is earned big time. Your big-ass sword and bowguns? May as well be a butter knife and a pea shooter in comparison to this thing. Thankfully, the dragon ship you're given is equipped with plenty of weaponry that can really do some damage. You have ballistas, which hold both standard ammo and a ballista binder, cannons which do, well, what cannons are supposed to do, a hunting gun which can stun the beast if it gets too close for comfort, and the Dragon! You'll need to use these effectively, or else both you and the ship are going to take a pounding, not only from the Gen's significant girth, but also from the sand shots it fires and can leave behind distracting Delex.
Exterminate!
I said Delex.
Halfway through the quest, the scene shifts to the Gen Moran slowly closing in on your grounded ship, so you'll have to combine slowing it down with your conventional weapons and using the dragon ship's weapons before the ship gets wrecked. By the way, one complaint. How come you don't see how much damage the ship takes? Anyway, if you can nail the beast with the Dragon again, the music changes to the triumphant Testament of a Hero, as if to say, this is our moment. From there, you feel pumped and ready to take down the massive dragon and return home victorious. There's no greater feeling in the world. Kinda makes the sand in your armor worth it, doesn't it? Each of the monsters on this list have earned their place for what they bring to the table, but for number 1, I needed something more. Something that goes above and beyond simply being another beast to kill. Remember my thing for poster characters? The Lagiacrus, feared the world over as the Lord of the Seas, good lord that is awesome, is my favorite monster in the game, hands down. That's because it has everything I like about the previous monsters and then some. Let's start with what it has in common with the other previous monsters on the list. It's cool looking, powerful, intimidating as fuck, and it's satisfying to fight. As a Leviathan-class monster, it's powerful both on land and underwater, both with its physical attacks, such as its charge and tail, but also due to powerful thunder attacks, like balls of electricity, and shocks powerful enough to boil water. A gunner helps in situations like this. Those spines on its back store its electrical power, so if you break those, you'll weaken its thunder attacks. It's a fun and satisfying challenge. But what I love about the Lagiacrus more than anything is how well the showdown with this thing is built up. Being the flagship monster of Monster Hunter Tri, the people of the village talk about it often, touting it as the beast that's troubling the island. Sounds like something you'd encounter late in the game, right? Yeah, try having it show up during one of the first quests in the game when it interrupts you while you're gathering monster guts and tries to tear out your own. Oh, and you can't kill it, and it's best to not even try. Sorry you had to go through that, Logan. While witnessing this beastie in action has caused some people to rage quit, for others it can give you motivation, driving you to improve your skills, build up stronger weapons, and sure enough, you're gonna have to take this thing on in earnest. Twice. Once to drive it off, and again to finish it for good. And when you do, it's so satisfying to see the results of your hunting career come to fruition as you finally bring it down. In fact, I wanna know something? Considering everything that the Lagiacrus has going for it, how it tests your skills with both land and underwater combat, how awesome and intimidating it looks, and how well it was built up, I'm actually sad that Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate won't have underwater combat, because I won't be able to fight this thing again. Oh well, at least I'll have a ton of other cool new monsters to pwn.
I'm the Quarter Guy, and I can't wait for Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Maybe due to the fact that I'll finally have an excuse to use this thing!